is a Croatian militia leader, openly Ustaša. They openly were Nazis. Nazi salute. They were reviving all the traditions from World War II. And I would call around to government officials, to other congressional offices, to news media, saying, look, the bishop would like to talk to you and present you evidence about what's going on in Herzegovina today. Oh, we're very interested. We'd love to talk to him. That sounds terrible. And then as the conversation would progress, and I would indicate that what I was talking about was Serbian victims of a Croatian extremist group, the window would come down. Oh, well, oh gosh, you know, I'm very busy this week, or, you know, well, yeah, I don't think it's the right time for that. They weren't interested. Nobody would see them. And this was early in the process, very early in the process. It wasn't, you know, as much as the Serbs have screwed up, as they certainly have, and the other guys have certainly put a lot of money and time into selling their story, that's not the whole thing. And I've been studying this for, you know, since the early 90s, when this thing sort of fell on everybody's lap. And I still do not fully understand what happened, about how even early in this process, based on no evidence whatever, that it was already decided who the good guys and the bad guys were, and the bad guys in every case were the Serbs.
That's right. I would like to add, there is of course, you are, like journalists know that, that's why you ask probably. The image is a very important thing, but only as far as the game important in political games, only as far as the game is at least fair and has some rules. If you have double standards in the game, then image don't mean much. Of course, always does, but not much in this case, because we had image of the killers, and now we have image of the lambs. So when we were killers, we were bad. Now we are lambs, so you can do it to us whatever you want, because those are the killers, and if you don't give them independence, they will make mess, and Serbs won't. Yeah. So now let's do it, give them. If we would be the bad guys, then would be the other standards, like let's say with the war crimes, we have one, which is not yet in Hague. That's General Mladic. And that's the reason why Serbia cannot approach to the negotiations to European Union. In the same time, Mr. Zurov found out a few months ago one war criminal from the Second World War living in the middle of the Budapest, downtown of the Budapest, across the synagogue, with his name on the street, on a front door of the building, regularly. And Hungary can go in the European Union, and Serbia cannot because of the one which is not proved yet. But this one twice was on a court, accused, and judged. And not to mention Germany, which has, let's say, dozens of the war criminals still free in the world. And it's nothing, doesn't bother nobody that Germany be a leader of European Union. And Serbia cannot approach on the front door because of one guy which is still free.
And maybe not even in Serbia.
And maybe not even in Serbia.
The parallel with Israel is important because, as some of our hosts pointed out today when we were at Hebrew University, likewise in many Western media, the Israelis are mostly...
what came to pass is the inevitable consequence of what the Serbs had already done to the Albanians.
Sure. You had a follow-up question.
No, I just think, of course, most of the journalists in the world basically are based on the news agencies. And the narrative is always be to change the narrative is to show that the situation is much more complex, and it's not a matter of good versus evil. That includes accepting, taking responsibility for things that happened in the 90s in Serbia.
Well, it's not, but again, I think I'm maybe going to throw it back at you in this way. When all is said and done, the reason why they say these things about Israel is not what you do or even what you fail to do. It's the other way around. Because of who you are,
yeah, they
characterize it in a certain way. And I don't know how Serbia got quite into this position, but certainly the same thing is true with Serbia now. That is, you know, I've heard so many explanations over the years. If only Serbia had done this, if only Serbia had done that. And having been very close to the issue for such a long time, I don't think it's true. I think that when all's said and done, very early on, the white hats and the black hats got put on the players, and there was nothing Serbia could have done that would have changed it from being about who you are rather than what you did or what you didn't do. And
I think also, if I might add, I mean, I think a lot of it also is because, you know, Yugoslavia was not hardcore communist like a lot of the other Eastern things. As far as he was concerned, as the U.S. ambassador, improvements had to be made for the human rights in Kosovo of Albania. Milosevic was upset by that and would not recognize or allow Zimmerman to come and see him. He wasn't the president of Yugoslavia, he was the president of Serbia. But I mean, that was kind of a typical, I would say, communist, old apparatchik style. We don't have to see the U.S. ambassador. He's insulted Serbia, so we're not going to see him. But of course, that was a mistake. But it colored the president of Serbia, but the image is still there, and it's extremely difficult to turn it around. Srebrenica has now entered the, you know, the legacy of worldwide literature, the second genocide.
And who's going to go back now and
it's
talk
totally
about
false.
what did or didn't happen there?
You know, it's totally false. Sending a hardcore Nasser Oric was a division of hardcore.
Served, released, and goes back to here as well.
Yes, and
he brags to journalists
Yeah.
of what he did. He shows pictures,
Yeah, they have pictures, yeah, videos of people they
disembowel
killed.
people
Yeah.
without eyes.
What kind of journalists?
well, the
Foreign
Toronto
journalists.
Star journalist, Canadian journalist, we were there. He broke the
One
story.
article, a year- like Washington Post will have one article a year that is actually shocking and sets the history a little bit straight. But it's not like any newspaper is on any kind of a campaign to help you connect the dots. It'll do its one non-anti-Serb article a
That's
year.
because people don't care enough.
Cultural assumptions of the postmodern ruling elite of the Western world. Why are both Serbs and Israelis in a similar predicament when it comes to the Western media? Because both Serbs and Israelis base their identity on spiritual, metaphysical, and ontological roots of identity.